All right, welcome back. We have our knobs. We put the pictures in. We put them in a panel, and we move them around. And we actually put our next tasks to do tasks over here on the top. So we're kind of good to go. I guess one task that we did talk about and we didn't add here is take care of knob mouse behavior. Cool. So we remember we need to do that as well. And maybe one more thing here on the top. So I do like to have these tasks here. That's just my personal preference. But another thing I like doing is if you go inside any Kontakt factory script, you will notice that, let's just take anything, it doesn't matter. We go inside the edit and you see that here on top, there is this little box that kind of gives the information, when was this script written, who wrote it, and what does the script do. I actually like doing that as well because it's a way to just stay organized, and also it's not exactly versioning maybe, but you do know the modification date of the script, and if you compare just different files, you know which is the latest file. Let's just give it a name, ADSR example, or whatever we want to call it. So now, yeah, it's actually a lot cleaner. I like the way this script starts now. We have this little box and we have our little to-do list. Now, okay, so let's look at our to-do list actually. So first item here is to change the background color of the performance view. Because as we said, we cannot see our knobs. I actually already played around with it. So it's already black, but imagine that I didn't do it. And I always forget this command. So very easy. You can go to the Kontakt manual. You can actually reach it from the application itself by just clicking here. There's two versions. There's like the online kind of online version and a PDF version. I have both open at the moment. I just searched for the word background until I found the command. It's very simple. Set UI color. It takes a hex value. There's some things that it expects, like ending with an H and starting with a 0. And it even shows us an example how to do red. And there's another example here that shows the black color, which is just a line of zeros. And here it's exactly what I want. So I want it to be black. So I take the entire thing from the manual. And now it's like, okay, we can put it anywhere in our init callback. But let's think for a second about how we arrange our things, right? So let's go in a little bit of a linear way. First, we set up we declare our performance view. We kind of initialize things. So this should actually go right here on top. Now, this is kind of important as you scale. You're starting to get huge scripts, and it's good to think about like where you would expect things to be if you're then scrolling the script back and forth. So come up with your own system. There's no right or wrong way. All right. Anyways, we save. Now our UI is black. Now we can see our knobs. But again, now look, I'm moving the knob and it's not responding like I'm expecting it to respond horizontally, but I have to do the vertical thing. It's super weird. It's not working the way I wanted to. And we also actually have it over here to take care of them. Well, this we can delete. We have it over here to take care of the mouse behavior. So let's immediately do that. And let's do that where we're doing the things for our knobs. So again, we need to set a control parameter. So let's take copy paste again, make our life a little bit easier. This time it's not going to be a string, and it's going to be a behavior for the mouse. Now, you can check out the mouse behavior in the manual. There's a range of values, negative and positive, with negative being horizontal and positive being vertical. I don't want to go into the details of the behaviors itself, just please read up on it. But suffice it to say, you need to enter a value that makes sense for the type of graphical control that you have. And lower values will have a bit more weight to the mouse movement, whereas higher values, you just move a little bit with the mouse, it moves a lot. Lower values, it kind of, the knob feels a little bit weightier. So just for our example, I'm going to write minus 450 here. And the control parameter is mouse behavior. Now, I'm going to press save. And whoa, it's still clunky and it's not doing what I thought it would be doing. Now, why is that? Something weird is going on. If I go into my script, it says no errors here. I click whoop, suddenly appears an error that says control power mouse behavior was not declared. So I do have an error in my script here. And this is a good segue into another application that is useful when you're building Kontakt instruments, which is called Creator Tools. It's available on native access, same as Kontakt, and this is a companion app for Kontakt. Now, you notice I launched this application. There's a number of windows here. There's a number of things. None of this matters at the moment except this little KSP log here on the bottom left. So I'm going to go ahead and actually kill this project. I don't want to see what I don't need. I'm going to be standing on this KSP log over here. And as you notice, actually, on top, it says here, it shows a connection to my instrument. It shows that I have this instrument idea is connected here. So that means it's listening in, and any error messages will will come in here. And they do get logged in the Kontakt logger, as you can see, as you saw in this thing here. But it's a little bit weird for us, right? Because we're actually, maybe we're even working with the edit view closed. And what if we have a list of warnings and errors? What if we're sending our own messages and we don't want to see just one line? So the way this works is, let's just make some change, save, and now the error is going to be logged here. So if you have, let's say you're working with two monitors, you can have Creator Tools open on another monitor, you can make it small, you can work, whatever. But suffice it to say, yeah, the error is logged. So it says control power mouse behavior was not declared. Now that is a little weird because I know it is declared, but this is a little bit of a quirk here with the code completion. The command it's the good old British English versus American English. So is behavior spelled with an O or with an OU? So it should actually be with an OU. Now if I click save, the error is gone. And wow, my knob moves exactly as I expected it. So really cool. I'm going to keep Creator Tools open from now on because if I make additional mistakes, I want to know about them, right? So that's all you need to do. So Creator Tools is open. I have my mouse behavior for my attack, decay, sustain, release. Here we go, copy paste, decay, sustain, and guess what? Release. Whoa, you guessed it. Cool. Attack, decay, sustain, release. We check again. Again, there's no errors, and now the knobs feel as I expected them to feel. So we can say that we're good. But wait a minute. One small thing. What if I add a bunch of other knobs, in a real world scenario, right? Let's say I have my envelope, and let's say I have, I don't know, filters. I have an entire instrument, and maybe not everything should behave exactly the same with the mouse behavior. That's one thing. Or even if the whole thing behaves the same, let's say you have 300 controls, and they all, you want them all on -450 at this point, but now you change your mind and you want them all on -400. So you can, of course, you can go here and do a find replace and replace everything, but it's a little bit clunky and not so clean. So let's introduce a new concept, which are constant variables. So let's declare one right now, and let's say declare const, and we're gonna call it mouse behavior with a OU or with an O, up to you at this point because it's your variable. And we're gonna say it equals to -450. And now instead of actually putting the -450 over here, we're gonna just put mouse behavior over here. Cool. Let's just make sure that it works. So no errors. We're good. And now, if I want to change my mind, I just quickly go here and change this one. So very, very simple. Now you can take it a step further if you'd like. You can do the same for the knob. But you know what? Let's just not. So it just goes to show that you're flexible here, right? Maybe you want it like this. Maybe you know that you might change mouse behavior. But knob, for me, it's actually not changing. It's always going to be knob. What I might change is actually, this is what I might change. I might change the knob PNG itself, replace it. But it's still going to be the file name. So in this particular case, I'm good with having this one hard-coded and this one with a variable. Again, completely up to you. It depends on what you're doing. But cool. This means that we took care of the mouse behavior. So now we're actually kind of okay-ish with our knobs. And maybe one thing. You see what I did now? I control-click on my knobs, and they go to the default value. Now for attack, decay, and release, I'm kind of okay with them going to the 0 as a default value, but maybe sustain should actually go. Maybe sustain should actually go to the maximum when the user puts it on the default value. So I'm going to take care of that control parameter as well. So I'm going to do set control. I'm going to get the UID for sustain. And it's actually, everything is very, very logical. So of course it's all in the manual. And the thing is, I don't remember this. I literally don't remember what it's called. But I assume it's probably called control part default value, right? Like, I mean, come on. So yeah, that's what it's called. So control part default value, and I'm just going to tell it that, so this is the maximum for sustain. And I'm just going to tell it that, hey, you know, for sustain, the default value actually is not 0. It's actually 1 million. So I saved, and now let's see that it works. So I'm going to, yep. So this guy's go to 0, but sustain goes to the maximum. All right, so we even took care of that. Now up to you. Do you want to just do sustain, or do you want to also do the rest, even though they are at 0 as they should be? Maybe at some point, I don't know, maybe it's a different value actually. Maybe you figure out that, hey, there is no actually a 0 value for an envelope. Maybe you want the attack to start, like the minimum to be something like 3 or 10 milliseconds, so it's 100,000. And then what are you going to do? Right? Because then you need to go and like, oh shit, wait, now I do need to tell attack. Whatever. It's weird, right? So just saying that you can decide how to kind of manage it. But for now, look, let's just keep it like this. Let's stay simple. We want sustain to be on the maximum and the rest to be on the minimum. So we can just move on at this point and decide later if we want to revisit. All right, so we have everything, and then the next step is the labels and the positions. But maybe the first things first. The labels should probably go under the knobs, right? And there's not much room left here. So I think we need a little bit of room. So what we're going to do is right where we declare our performance view. You know what? I think actually, I want the very first thing to happen. Let's think about our script. So I want to reset the debugger first. I'll set the script title, and then I will make my performance view. Then I will say, hey, what height? And at the moment, let's not mess with width. It's not necessary for us. We can do also with width. But I'm going to set my height, and let's just put a value in for now and see what it looks like. And then I'm going to set my UI color. Everything makes sense. Okay, 200. That's a little bit big, perhaps. What if we move our panel just a little bit below? Awesome. And then maybe it's a little bit big because we only want some labels here. So maybe 200 is too much. How about 100? Yeah, I think 100 could probably work for us, at least for now. We can always change that. Awesome. So we have our little bit of space for the labels. Now let's just do exactly that. Declare our labels. Now again, this is up to you. Do you want to declare everything together? So basically do UI label over here and say so actually, wait, now we need to think. Now, wait a minute. Now we have an attack slider, but we also have an attack label. So how do we want to name our variables? Now, again, you can decide. Oops, what is this preamp? You can decide what you want to do. But I'm going to go like this. I'm going to actually say, wait a minute, this is no good because I have both labels and sliders. I'm going to take my amp envelope attack variable. I'm going to find it everywhere in my script. So it's declared. There's all the things that pertain to it, right? I'm going to search for it. And I'm going to say, you know what? This is actually not just amp envelope attack. It's amp envelope attack slider. And I'm going to do the same for the rest. So amp envelope decay is no longer amp envelope decay. It's amp envelope decay. Oh, what the heck just happened? So it's amp envelope decay slider. Amp envelope sustain is amp envelope sustain slider. And guess what happens to amp envelope release? It's also amp envelope release slider. Awesome. Amp envelope panel is still amp envelope panel, right? No matter what I put in it. So we're good. We save. There should be no errors. We changed everything, right? So it's all good. And yeah, now we're ready to go. And now we can distinguish. Now we can say, cool, you know what? The same as we have sliders for these things, we have also labels. So UI label, and the variable name is going to be attack label. And a label needs to have a default height and width. You can change it later. This is by grid spacing. No need to really get into that right now. Suffice it to say, completely default 1 by 1. It's just to declare the label. Whatever you do later, you do later. So amp label, decay label, sustain label, and guess what? Release label. Decay label, sustain, and release. Cool. So again, going back to quickly to something. Now, as you can see, I have my sliders declared. I have my labels declared. Then I go back and do stuff to the sliders. Up to you. Do you want to have all your declarations at once? Or do you want to have like the stuff that is happening to the sliders and then the stuff that is happening maybe to the labels? It really depends what you're doing. It depends on how the script is set up and more, let's say, advanced concepts and concepts around how to scale all of this. I don't know. I'm trying to think how to show in this example. Let's just go like this. So we have everything that's happening to the sliders, and then we move on to the labels. So let's see what we have here. We declared them. And let's just go see what the sliders had, right? So making them persistent, there is no need. The labels are just readouts. They're not a persistent. The variable itself is the slider. The labels will just be reading out some values of sliders and engine parameters. So there's no need to make them persistent. There's no picture currently that we're attaching to them, although we could. There is no mass behavior. There is no value to make a default of, and none of that. But what a label will have is text. So let's first save this thing. So now you see, whoa, we have a bunch of labels here on top, and the text that they are displaying is literally the variable name, which we obviously don't want, and they're not positioned in the right place. So before we even get into connecting them to anything, right? So we will be changing the text dynamically, but just for right now, so that it kind of loads correctly and that we can move it around and do our stuff, let's set the text. So you can do it in two ways. You can use the set control par, but there's also a dedicated command, set text, that works directly without needing to grab the GUI ID and stuff like that. It works directly only on things that text can be set to. So a label and some other controls, refer to the manual for more. But suffice it to say, we can use this command to quickly set the text of the label. And since this is our attack knob, or this is our attack label, we can put it like this. And I'm purposely putting putting it in this order just to show. So yeah, again, how to set up your script. So I can do it actually like this, right? I can declare my label. I can say, okay, everything that goes into it, yeah, let's make a tab and put everything under it. And it's neat that way and organized. Or I can just say, okay, look, I'll do all my declarations in one spot, and I'll do all the setting of the text in another spot. Up to you, and how do you want to organize and scale. So sustain. If I had a penny for every time I wrote this shit. Okay. Sustain label. And the last one, release label. Actually, why am I, yeah, it's faster to copy paste. Cool, so now, hopefully, yes, awesome, attack, decay, sustain, release. So now it looks good, it's just horribly spaced, it's not where we want it to be. And that would be, I guess, our next step. So here comes the next part. So about like setting up and organizing your script. So remember how we said, okay, let's do all the slider things together and let's do all the label things together. But then the moving stuff is for them both in a way, because we want like the sliders to be in the panel, and we also want the labels to be in the panel. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just do this huge thing, copy paste the entire thing. Maybe make some spacing here so it's a bit more clear. And then all the labels, they will go into the slider as well. And then it's kind of simple. So they're in the panel. And now I'm going to copy the move controls because I want to move the labels as well. So label, 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 label. And now let's look at it for a minute. So we said, okay, we want the labels to be right under the controls, right? And we know that these are 40 wide and 40 tall. So we can kind of infer the spacing that we need, right? So let's say maybe actually the X spacing is okay, but we need to kind of, so if it's 40 and we need a little bit more, let's try 50 for the Y coordinate. So 50, 50, 50, 50. Let's try something like this. If it's no good, we adjust. It's okay, but maybe we actually don't need the 50. Maybe 40 is it? 40 is actually totally fine. So let's go with 40. Amazing. So now we have, yeah, it's actually kind of looking good. So we have attack, decay, sustain, release, knobs and labels. None of them do anything yet, but UI-wise, they are a bit, yeah, they're set up. So we're good with this. And let's see the task list. So declare and position labels. Awesome. And now we are kind of ready to connect the ADSR controls and connect the labels to the control values. Let's do exactly that in the next video. Save. See you there.